Here are three things I'm looking at when trying to find the next 100x gem in crypto. All right, guys, so today in this video, I'm going to be talking about the three things I believe that are the most important fundamentals to a project, and it's what I personally evaluate when I'm going and searching and trying to find the diamonds in the rough and figure out which projects to put money in. All right, so I'm going to be using a couple examples too, and of course, once again, obviously, I work for one of the projects, KongSwap, and the other projects, I'm invested in. So everyone knows that. I don't think I need to go through that again. But anyways, so the first thing I want to talk about when evaluating a project is the number one thing I think that matters the most for a project when it comes to, I guess, long term is the product. So the number one thing I would say is product. And I think it's super important for, if you're investing in a utility project, to make sure their product is actually strong, because at the end of the day, that's actually, what's going to matter. Now, when it comes to some meme coins, like an example, Infinite Money Glitch or Lofi, the product they're really selling is kind of community, all right? So it's kind of a weird one, and obviously that's kind of the reason why meme coins take a bigger hit during downturns, because at the end of the day, not many people care about the community too much. Of course, when the market's hot, community matters a lot because you can get hype engagement, you can drive it up, and community always matters. Community is ultimately, one of the most important things. But really, the product is, the most important thing when it comes to utility projects. And whether that's an actual physical, not a physical thing, but, an actual DApp. An example like for KongSwap, the DApp, the KongSwap DApp, or for Research Hub, the Research Hub platform, or for something like IMG or Lofi, the product would really be the community. How strong is the community? IMG, for example, has a super strong community. So the first thing is really having a strong product. People got to keep coming back to that thing. An example of that I would say is probably KongSwap. Of course, I run the marketing for KongSwap and everything, and I don't want to be biased, but we have a very, strong product in my opinion. It's continuing to get better and better and better, and people have continued to see the growth. If you've been following me for a while and you've been watching this channel for a while, you've seen how much better KongSwap has gotten in the last 8 months. It's been ridiculous, and it's one of my, of course, I'm biased and everything because I'm, running the marketing and all that, but I'm super fucking bullish. It's looking really, really, really good. The devs are very strong. Research Hub as well. That's another project, I've been following for a while now. Their product continues to get better and better and better. All right, so that's kind of the first thing I look at is product. The second thing I look at is backing. So who is backing the project? Now, in some cases, when it comes to some of these meme coins, etc., you might not even know who it is. It could be some mysterious guy in a hoodie, in a dark space. He's not a KOL. He's not this or that. He's not public. And he just happens to have a lot of money. He's able to pump the price up. But backing is super, super, super important. A project I'd like to, talk about again is Research Hub. Research Hub, the founder of Research Hub is Brian Armstrong. Brian Armstrong is also the CEO and founder of Coinbase. So they have ridiculous amounts of backing. They have large amounts of money backing them. And the reason why this matters is in downturns, when the market isn't doing as well, the team is able to stay funded. If a team's not able to stay funded and they're not able to get paid, people move on with their lives. That's how crypto works. At the end of the day, we're all here ultimately for one thing, and to make money. That's it. So if a team is not able to stay funded, then the project is bearish because people will end up quitting the project and not giving a shit because they have to go and make money and feed their families. With Research Hub, they're backed by a billionaire who also, CEO and founder of a multi-billion dollar company. I think Coinbase is worth 60 billion on, the NASDAQ, something like that. So Research Hub has an extreme amount of backing, and it's part of the reason I'm super bullish on it. For KongSwap, we have great backing as well. We have a very large investor. Some of you guys may know who he is. Great guy and everything. Another example of this would be Lofi. So Lofi is basically the meme coin cabal of Sui Foundation. So they have the entire basically Sui Foundation, and they have also a lot of strategic partnerships that are behind this coin. And this is one of the reasons I like the coin. Now, of course, honestly, when you look at it, it looks like exactly like one of those, this kind of style of trend of meme coin was big like in the beginning of 24, and it's kind of a turn off now when you kind of see these animated characters because it's, it just looks like a copy because there were so many of them made. But this project right here, the guy who's the founder of it actually has money and he's still hustling even though the project's gone down a lot. And second of all, the whole Sui Foundation is basically on it. Phantom Wallet themselves are shilling it. If you take a look at when Phantom Wallet always talks about Sui on their Twitter, they're always talking about Lofi. And the founders of Sui themselves, the founders of Meister Labs, endorsed Lofi on day one. And they also have a ton of fucking bankroll, and they're paying a ton of influencers. They're not paying me. If they want to, I'd love to talk about them and get paid to do it. But they're paying a lot of influencers off, and they have a lot of they have the whole Sui Foundation behind them. They have a great partnership with Phantom, and they also, are able to spend money on a lot of KOLs, which at the end of the day, some KOLs are bad, some KOLs are good, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter what your opinion on it is. Some of them can really drive move the needle. And the Lofi team, I will give them a lot of credit. They did a very, very, very good job. They ran this project to 250 million back in January. It's sitting around like a 10 million now. I personally put some money in the other day. I think it's probably going to do pretty good on the way back up, simply because they have a lot of money. If they didn't have good backing, then it would probably just rug out. But the thing is, if you notice, the dev for this project is continuing to go on YouTube shows, and the Sui Foundation's continuing to push it. Phantom Wallet's continuing to push it. I don't know. Once again, all these projects can go to fucking, anything can happen in crypto. But that's kind of the second thing I'm looking for, is backing. And the third thing is marketing. All right, so marketing / growth. And I kind of just touched on that with Lofi. But guys, and having a strong brand, this is a really important thing that a lot of people miss, and a lot of people kind of mid-curve. They'll look at a project and they'll say, well, it has this and that. And there's projects that have a shitty brand that are able to still succeed in everything. But I think in this current environment, and we've seen this kind of play out in the past year, and even the past couple of years when you really think about it, but the projects with the strongest brand and the best marketing are going to be able to, attract users and get people to buy their token. That's the ultimate reality of it. Like for CoinSwap, I'll give you an example. The one thing we are prioritizing is making for the product the user experience very easy. We want things to be easy. We want it to be easy for people in Solana, easy for people in Ethereum, easy for people in Sui, easy for people in ICP. We want it to make it friendly for everyone so we can get as many people in. But also, we have a very strong brand. CoinSwap, ticker Kong. It's cool. People love the monkey. People love the gorilla. Brand is a really big thing. Another thing, Lofi. Lofi is basically trying to be the biggest brand on Sui. So how good is your brand? How strong is your marketing? At the end of the day, there's very rare, times when a product is able to sell itself with no marketing. Unless the guy who's making the product has a lot of money and he's able to pay off people, etc. Normally, projects that don't have any funding and it's just, kind of some broke dev and they make a product, it's very hard for them to get their product attention without proper marketing. This is why, once again, also coming back to my second point, backing is so important. You have the backing to pay for the marketing to get your project exposure. And we kind of saw this, with, meme coins in general. I was early into meme coins. I worked for a meme coin team in 2022, and 2023 for a little bit. I've been in the meme coin game before it was kind of this big thing. Of course, Dogecoin was around last cycle. But, I've been in the trenches for the memes for a while now, even at the Pico bottom in 2022, and everything like that. And, that's kind of one of the big things is you need strong marketing. You need strong backing. You need to get the word out. It's as simple as that. And projects that don't take marketing seriously, I don't really take them seriously. It's like, I don't like when some developers are very egotistical and they think if the project ends up selling itself, that's fantastic. If somebody, an example that would be Pump Fund. Like Pump Fund, the devs just made a product and they, Alan talks about this. He basically went through and DM'd hundreds of people the product. And eventually it caught steam and obviously they, had a really innovative mechanic that led it to be a super successful product. But I think, having a team and devs that want to spend on marketing is very bullish. You need to understand that. And, with the whole meme thing, it's like, take a look at the market cap of Pepe and Dogecoin, even Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin's basically a brand and a meme, and it has a community. That's ultimately what's driving and everything. And one of the big products of the Bitcoin thing is the fact that they have a very strong community. Of course, they have the miners and all that other shit, but brand and marketing is super important, and people sleep on it. I put out a tweet. If it's a mid cap or a low cap and the team isn't interested in marketing, I'm not fucking touching it. I don't even care. Maybe I miss a couple, that's fine, but I'm not going to touch it. I would say, honestly, 9 out of 10 times a mid cap or a small cap doesn't want to spend on marketing, fuck them. They're not going to pump. They're probably not, unless they have some whale who's going to come in and buy it, and it's really that great of a product, which most of the time is not the case. That's just the way I feel about it. Also, when it comes to marketing, you always want your product talked about as much as fucking possible. There's really no downside to, unless you pay the absolute wrong people, which I guess would be then your own fault. Then yeah, if you do proper marketing, it can be super, super effective. But that's basically what I'm looking at when I'm taking a look at these projects and everything. Those three things, how strong is the product? how good is the backing, and, you know, are they taking marketing seriously? You know, there's no reason. That's the thing about the Kong Swap team. And I, you know, of course, once again, I run the marketing and everything. But this is like what makes the team so good is because we have a great backer. We have great devs. Like our devs are really good. And we also have great marketing. You can do everything. You know, I don't like these teams that pick and choose. They say, oh, no, we're only going to spend, you know, they'll make some bullshit excuse about, oh, we're spending all our money on development and not marketing. Well, it's like, I get that at a certain point. Maybe in a certain market, you need to do that. But you need to be taking projects that are serious and are going to be the biggest winners, are taking everything seriously. They're taking development seriously, they're taking their backing seriously, and they're also taking their marketing seriously. You can win on all angles. It's not a winner, you know, of course, maybe you may not be the best in one strong suit. You know, you may be better at development, better than marketing, or better at marketing, better than development, but you can try and succeed and be good at all of them. And that's kind of it. It's just more of a rant video, sort of. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to go follow me on X at @AaronBemser_. Join my trading group, link in the description. And yeah, those are the 3 things I'm looking at. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And yeah, thank you for watching.